During this recording, I want to show you how to load new firmware into a Larson-Davis Model 831 using the sound level meter utility version G4. I have the G4 utility running here on my desktop. If you don't have it, it can be downloaded from our website at www.larsondavis.com and installed. And once installed, it'll come up and look like this. I also have a Model 831 that's connected to my PC by USB. And once I have those two things in place, I can upgrade the firmware. To do that, I click File, Upgrade Firmware, and I want to select my connection type as USB. In this drop-down, any instruments I have connected will show up here. I only have one right now, so I select that and connect. It'll go ahead and connect up to that, and this is my update wizard. I'll click Next here to continue on. And to load new firmware, I want to make sure that I have Upgrade Firmware using a ROM file selected. And I also want to make sure that I have the current version of firmware. The firmware is distributed with the G4 application, so if I've just downloaded it, I know I have current firmware. If it's a little older, I may want to go out and make sure I've downloaded the latest version of G4 that will have the latest version of firmware. Then I can click Browse. It will automatically take me to the firmware folder. I can select that and open, and that way I know I have the latest version of firmware. Click Next, and then Finish. The firmware will go through a little bit of a process here now of updating the firmware that takes just a couple of minutes. First thing you can see here that happens is it actually writes that firmware to the sound level meter and puts it in the internal memory of the sound level meter, but has not made that firmware permanent. Here in just a few minutes, now it's writing that firmware to permanent memory. We want to make sure during this stage that we don't turn off the meter or disconnect power or anything like that. This could cause the meter to end up in a non-bootable state. And you can see that's moving along there. Okay, at this point, the firmware update is complete. It's restarting the meter. It will take a minute or two for the 831 to reboot, and at which point it will have the new firmware and I'll be able to connect. And that's all you have to do to load new firmware.
For more information, visit larsondavis.com or give us a call at 1-888-258-3222.